Today's book review is Big Magic, Creative Living Beyond Fear by Elizabeth Gilbert. You may have heard of Elizabeth Gilbert. She wrote Eat, Pray, Love, which was a big bestseller. In this book, she's talking about creativity. And obviously she's a writer, so she knows something about being creative. This book was a quick read. It was a fun read. It was talking about, an important, serious topic, creating and art. But she just had such a lighthearted approach throughout the whole book that just made it fun to read. But she talks in this book about how important it is to be creative and to find something in your life that you enjoy doing that is purely done for the joy of creating, whether it's writing or drawing or painting or gardening or dancing, singing, whatever, just something that you do that inspires you and that you do for the love of doing it and for no other reason. She talks in this book about professional artists and how so often they are anguished and sometimes even depressed or suicidal because their art isn't getting the credit that they think it's due, or they put something out into the world and it gets reviewed badly, and they just feel like they're misunderstood, and they feel like their art isn't being taken seriously. And she basically says, lighten up. The point of creating is to create. There's nothing more to it. It doesn't matter what the outcome is. And she says in this book that she took a vow when she was a teenager that she would write for the love of writing and for no other reason, and she would do it no matter what the outcome was, whether she became famous or had any kind of success or not. And that's what she's done. She's written things that she said were horrible, and she's written things that were, reviewed very well. But she just writes because she loves to write. And she says, creativity is, you're creative through inspiration, but sometimes, inspiration dries up and you don't have anything that you feel inspired about, and that you should just create anyway. So she says she tries to write every day, even when she has no ideas. She just writes, because sometimes you just have to be diligent and dedicated and just keep doing your craft even if you don't have ideas. But she has this really interesting description of ideas. She says that they are basically like living things that float around looking for someone who's open to them, and then if they find somebody who's open to inspiration, the idea occurs to that person to create whatever that thing is. And she tells, a very interesting story. I won't ruin it by, talking about it, but she tells a story about how an idea jumped from her to a friend of hers. And it was a book idea, and it was, she wasn't paying attention to it, and it jumped to her friend. She thinks when they hugged or kissed or something. And the idea jumped to her friend, who wrote a very similar book to what she had been planning to write but decided not to. It's a good story. Sounds a little far-fetched, but I totally believe it. I have had ideas, and she talks about how ideas can slip away from you, and how you kind of have to grab onto them and pull them back to you. I've definitely had an experience or two like that where I think of something and it feels like it's starting to slip away from me, and I have to struggle to think it through. So definitely, if you've ever done anything creative, which of course you have, because I think we're all creative when we're children, this book is definitely interesting, no matter what kind of art you're interested in, whether it's a fine art or gardening or singing or dancing or whatever. And she talks about how the things that we create are enormously important because they have so much heart and inspiration in them, and yet they're not important at all, because it's not like anybody is going to die if a painting isn't painted. It does nothing to advance, the physical welfare of people. So she basically, says to artists and anyone who's creative to just lighten up and create for the sake of creating, and stop taking yourself so seriously, and just do it no matter what the end result is. It doesn't really matter what the end result is. Do it for the love of it. So I would give this book 5 stars out of 5. It was a fun read. It was a quick read. Again, it's called Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. Pick it up at your library or go to a bookstore and get it. Let me check and see what the year it was written was 2015, so you can probably still find it in bookstores. So definitely pick up a copy of it, read it, and let me know in the comments what you thought. Thanks.